Welcome into OutKick the show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Mondays. I hope you had good Memorial Day weeks. I was doing the radio show down in Florida last week. I'm back home this week. We'll be with you every day this week, and I believe next week before I head down for an Atlanta Braves series with my family. School is out. Summer is here. A little bit of a tan from spending several days down on the beach, beautiful Florida Gulf Coast. We have got a ton going on, a lot to react to. Going to talk with you about the Trump trial, which obviously the verdict came down on Thursday afternoon. I'll talk to you about the Caitlin Clark situation, Hunter Biden's trial underway in Delaware, Dr. Fauci's testimony today. What have the odds looked like as a result of that verdict? I'm talking about the gambling odds. UFC 302 happens in Newark, New Jersey. All that coming your way. Also, Trump now on TikTok. But I want to start with the story that millions of you care about. Maybe even tens of millions of you care about, and that is Caitlin Clark. And in particular, her cheap shot that went super viral over the weekend. All I will say is I told you this was coming. Caitlin Clark is white and straight in a league that is primarily minority and lesbian. I told you that this was going to be an issue, and lots of people tried to pretend that it wasn't going to be an issue, and they claimed that I was making stuff up. This was so self-evident going to be an issue, and it's already now exploded on an issue as an issue. Now you got everybody acknowledging it all over the place. The average WNBA player does not like Caitlin Clark because she is white, because she is straight, and because now she is rich and getting a lot of attention. And there is a great deal of resentment about that. So I want to start here. I can never remember any male athlete ever entering into a new sport and a new league and being treated like this. I don't remember it in the NFL. I don't remember it in the NBA. I don't remember it in Major League Baseball. I can't recall a celebrity athlete coming in with a big fan base that is lifting tons of attention and theoretically going to make everybody a great deal of money, and people are just losing their minds over it. Now, probably the best analogy you could make for Caitlin Clark's impact in the WNBA, and it's more substantial than this in my life as a sports fan, would probably be Tiger Woods coming on to the PGA Tour. Now, there have been other athletes that are super famous that come into leagues, but the NFL's always had a big fan base. Major League Baseball's always had a big fan base. NHL, NBA, all of those leagues, there have been players, Tim Tebow, that came in as superstars, Yao Ming, who had brought a new market that otherwise maybe wasn't paying the same level of attention. But Tiger Woods, I would say, is the best analogy right now to Caitlin Clark. And even that isn't perfect because Tiger Woods, there were already a lot of PGA fans, but Tiger Woods took golf to another level. And for those of you out there that are young and you don't remember suddenly when Tiger Woods won his first Masters or left Stanford and went pro, Tiger Woods was a difference maker for golf. And all of a sudden, everybody who was a professional golfer started to make a ton of money more because Tiger Woods was a rising tide that lifted all boats. Phil Mickelson suddenly started making a lot more money. Everybody in the world of golf, because Tiger brought new eyeballs, started to make way more money. And that's why I would compare Caitlin Clark to Tiger Woods. Now, the difference is Tiger Woods almost immediately established himself as one of the 5 or 6 best golfers in the entire PGA Tour, even as like a 19-year-old. You guys can correct me. Adam, look it up. I believe 97 was Tiger Woods' first Masters win. So he was hardly on the PGA Tour for any time at all before he came in and immediately won at a high level. So his dominance immediately translated to the world of golf, and he was the best golfer for a generation. I think it's fair to say, even for you guys out there that are diehard Caitlin Clark people, Caitlin Clark has not come into the WNBA and immediately been one of the 5 or 6 best players. Tiger, by the way, 21 years old when he won his first Masters, April 13th, 1997. Remember, Jim Nantz memorably intoned a win for the ages. And from that point, Tiger Woods had cemented himself as one of the best golfers out there. I'm not sure Caitlin Clark is one of the 25 best basketball players in the WNBA right now. She's not playing at an incredibly high level, but she's bringing a whole new audience that didn't care about the WNBA at all for about 30 years. Right now, there is no precedent to the audience that Caitlin Clark is bringing to women's basketball. Every other famous athlete I can think of who has come into a sport has come into a sport that was already super popular. But if I had to make an analogy right now with Caitlin Clark, I would say it was and is Tiger Woods, except she's bigger than that. Now, the question is she going to be a good enough player, or is she Tim Tebow-like? By which I mean she brings in a huge audience, she might have some success, but she's never going to be a transcendent superstar at that level of the sport. That remains to be seen. But I have been saying for my entire career as a public figure, which is soon to be 20 years, I started writing on the internet about 20 years ago. 2004 was the first article that I ever published in the summer of 2004. So we're coming up on almost 20 years of me writing online and being some form of public figure. I started saying all the way back then, it's time for a real conversation to be had about the way that we talk about race. But before I get to that, Tiger Woods, by and large, there were some bumps along the road. Fuzzy Zeller, I think. By and large, everybody welcomed Tiger Woods with open arms to PGA. And I cannot think of any player out there that has been a rookie and has come in and been as hated as we have seen for Caitlin Clark to be in the WNBA. Why is that? Why is she hated? Sometimes people are hated because they're kind of jerks. Not Caitlin Clark. I don't know that Caitlin Clark has ever really even said anything remotely controversial in her whole career as a public figure. Caitlin Clark is hated because she's white and because she is heterosexual in a league that is, to a large extent, black and lesbian. Okay? Now, some people say, well, also she's really pretty. I think Caitlin Clark is good looking. I don't think Caitlin Clark is Anna Kournikova. She's not Olivia Dunn. She is not so good looking that she would be famous even if she wasn't an athlete on Instagram, right? Like Anna Kournikova came along like a generation too soon. If Anna Kournikova was famous now, she would make $100 million a year. She made a lot of money back then. In an Instagram age, Anna Kournikova would have had her own athleisure line. She would have had her own energy drink. She would have had her own makeup. She would have been, I'm not even kidding, I think Anna Kournikova, if she were playing today, would make $100 million a year. Beauty is more valuable right now in an Instagram age and more commoditized than it probably, for the beautiful person, than it probably ever has been in history. Just think about that. But back in the day when I was a kid, and I was 13, 14 years old, and if somebody was really good looking and, let's say, in Playboy, we had to work really hard to get a Playboy. A Playboy centerfold, this is a good research assignment for you, Adam. A Playboy centerfold back in the day made like $25K, $50K. Not life-changing money at all. There are, 10,000 girls making six figures or more that might be low on OnlyFans by itself. And there are some women out there making millions and millions of dollars. Angel Reese is making millions and millions of dollars because a lot of people find her to be attractive out there in this Instagram ecosystem, much like Olivia Dunn, much like Caitlin Clark. It doesn't happen in men's sports. They're tearing her down because she's a minority. She's a white woman who's a heterosexual. I said this on social media, and I believe Caitlin Clark's boyfriend or fiance, I'm not sure if they're engaged or not, has liked tweets saying the same thing. She needs an enforcer. She needs a brute that will wreck people if they wreck her. To me, what's interesting about what's going on right now is none of her teammates are standing up for her because I don't think they like her either because they don't like the fact that she's white and straight. She's actually the minority here, and she's being treated unfairly based on this. And that's unfair because Caitlin Clark would be in the WNBA no matter what her race was, no matter what her sexual preference was. She is Steph Curry, in my opinion, WNBA version. Now, what's unfortunate about this is WNBA doesn't know what to do. I made a joke, like you can suspend somebody and fine them 2 game checks, but it's only $18.68. They make no money. I think, what is Caitlin Clark's yearly salary, like $70K? The graduating lawyers make $150K now. Random lawyers all over the country make twice as much money as a rookie in the WNBA. So Caitlin Clark is a rising tide lifts all boats. Everybody gets to fly charter flights now after 30 years not doing it. And these women are tearing her down, which is so counterproductive. And so I think what's going on here is we've created an entire generation, which circles back to 2004 when I started writing online. We've created an entire generation that only thinks white people can be racist. And the only racism we talk about is white, primarily to black, but occasionally white to Hispanic or white to Asian or whatever. And any other racism, people just pretend doesn't exist. Do you remember Stop Asian Hate? Do you remember when all the Asian people were just getting the crap beaten out of them all over San Francisco, California, and New York City? Asian people just walking down the street get beaten up. You know who was doing it? Overwhelmingly black people. So our society is so unable to comprehend the idea that black people might be racist against Asian people that the story mostly disappeared. Asian people are getting the crap beat out of them. If it were white people, it would have been the number one story. White people doing it would have been the number one story for a year. All the video footage comes out. It's just black people beating up Asian people. And they're like, yeah, this story's just got to go away. It's the only time. I mean, look at the guy who got murdered in Memphis. Young guy driving a car, did nothing wrong, got pulled over by the Memphis police on video, got the crap beaten out of him. Story just goes away. Huge group of black Memphis police officers murders a black guy, beats the crap out of him on video. Everybody can see it. He didn't get a statue. He didn't get a public statement from the White House for days and days on end. He didn't have funerals all over the country because it was black people who beat him up. And so it would change everything in this country if we would just have public figures come out and say, you know what? White, black, Asian, Hispanic people can all be racist. And judging anybody based on their race or their sexuality is wrong, and we should not do it. People say that I'm racist for saying that. People lose their minds. You can't say that a black person can be racist. You can't say that a Hispanic person can be racist. You can't say that an Asian person. Yeah, you can. Every one of those groups knows that they can be racist. They'll even be racist inside of the group. Asian people judge other Asian people all the time. Black people judge other black people. White people judge other white people. Oh, it's poor white trash. What do you expect? This happens all the time across racial groups too. And I don't know why there's such a refusal to acknowledge that it's going on. But I think the treatment of Caitlin Clark has become such an issue that even on ESPN, Stephen A. Smith's acknowledging it now. I think you can go read, when I started saying this, I give credit to Bobby Barack, he's written about it at OutKick. All the usual outrage merchants were like, oh my gosh, Clay Travis just said that Caitlin Clark's race and her sexuality has something to do with the way she's being treated. Yeah. And now everybody's like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I think that's probably what's going on. Otherwise, what would it be? Jealousy based on what? I guess you could say people are jealous because she's too good looking. I don't think it's that. It's because she's white and she's straight and she's rich. If Caitlin Clark had the exact same game and she was black and she was a lesbian, then there'd be no criticism of her inside of the WNBA. Now, you can say that nobody would care. That's a more interesting argument, right? You can say, oh, if she were just another black player, then nobody would care about her success. I think that's unlikely to be true because I still think her performance at Iowa women's basketball would be a lot of fun to watch and support. And certainly that doesn't happen in men's athletics. I don't think there's any athlete. Think about this. Can you name a male athlete who is famous because of his sexuality or his looks or his gender? I can't, because men's sports, all we care about is performance. In fact, the criticism of men's sports is if you're good enough, you can get away with anything. This is the other argument I've been making for 20 years. All that matters in men's sports is your talent. As long as it exceeds your problems, you can get away with anything. Deshaun Watson got the biggest contract in the history of the NFL at the time, and over 30 women, most of them minorities, had accused him of sexual assault, and he paid them millions of dollars to settle all these charges against him. Think about that. Biggest contract, most guaranteed money in the history of football at the time, because people thought, okay, he's a good quarterback, we'll overlook everything else. That's the story of men's sports, is that nothing else matters but your talent. Now, if you're really good looking and also really successful, then you get more famous. Tom Brady certainly benefits from being incredibly good looking and winning 7 Super Bowls. But if he just was incredibly good looking, nobody would care. And Peyton Manning ain't good looking, and he made arguably as much or more money in his career than Tom Brady because he was just good, right? So I think that's a bit interesting in and of itself. And there are so many layers here. And I'll confess to you, this is one where I was wrong. I didn't think that this many people would care this much about Caitlin Clark. And we got research here. Used to be if you were the Playmate of the Month, you got $500. Now, the numbers have gone up. That's $4,300 in today's inflation-adjusted dollars. So when they started with the centerfold, they got $4,300. I mean, there are a lot of women making 6 figures that have benefited, let's be honest, on OnlyFans. So those are my take. That's my take on Caitlin Clark. They should get an enforcer. It would be incredibly brave and heroic by the standards of the left, Dawn Staley included, if they could find a man pretending to be a woman to just run around and wreck people and protect Caitlin Clark. An enforcer like it's hockey. Go find Dennis Rodman, put him in a wig. He would make several $1 million. It would be very brave. He could keep his dick. No need to chop it off. Just put him in a sports bra. He could run around and just wreck chicks like he used to do, protecting Michael Jordan. Bring him out of retirement. I think his daughter plays in the league, if I'm not mistaken, or is she a soccer player? Anyway, put Dennis Rodman in a sports bra. Dude, 60 years old, still would be a dominant player in the WNBA, and just tell him, bad boy style, we want you to go out and protect Caitlin Clark. Anybody that fouls her too hard, you wreck that bitch. Dennis Rodman could do that job today. It would be heroic. Kim Jong-un in North Korea would be very supportive, might bring the world together. Kim Jong-un might turn into a huge WNBA fan too. Back in the day, they used to wreck Michael Jordan. Dennis Rodman flipped sides, and then he became a Jordan bodyguard. Go and just wreck bitches, put a wig on, claim that you're trans. He already got married in a wedding dress. Dennis Rodman probably loved that, liked to dress up like a chick already. Guys walking around in a miniskirt, banging Carmen Electra back in the day. I don't know how he did it. But Dennis Rodman banged more good-looking chicks. That was the 90s, man. Didn't matter. The dude would put on miniskirt and high heels and just bang hot chicks like crazy. I don't know why they liked it. They did. Maybe he could bang some of these WNBA players if they weren't all gay. Put him in a skirt. Put him in a sports bra. Just put him on the court. Let him wreck chicks. I'm telling you, I'd watch. Every single one of you watching me right now, if 60 or how old is Dennis Rodman? Hopefully he's still alive. Somebody look up. Adam, look up how old Dennis Rodman is. You put Dennis Rodman in a WNBA uniform on the Indiana Fever, and you said, Dennis Rodman, I got a fever. We don't need more cowbell. We just need more chicks getting wrecked. Anybody puts a hand on Caitlin Clark, you knock the crap out of that bitch. You make her pay, every single one of you would watch. Dennis Rodman is 63 years old. I bet Dennis Rodman could go for 50 rebounds in a WNBA game right now. Doesn't even need to try and score. Put him in some of those Kim Kardashian skims so he can tuck his dick up. Put him in some Kim Kardashian skims. Put him in a Fever uniform. Let him run around. He can dye his hair blonde again. He can play in high heels probably. Dude would go for 50 rebounds, and he would wreck some bitches if they tried to hit Caitlin Clark. I would watch that tomorrow. It would be heroic. Everyone at ESPN would have to name him the Woman of the Year. I would watch that in a heartbeat, and every single one of you would watch too. That's what they need. That's what the boyfriend or fiance of Caitlin Clark has said. We need an enforcer. Just make it a dude. All right, couple of other things. What else do we need to know? I got a headline here. Dennis Rodman. Yes. New year. Yes, Dennis Rodman. What's he with a hot chick? Dennis Rodman out there still banging chicks, wearing high heels, panties, skirts. They don't care. Old skirts. Rocking a Chicago Bulls baseball cap. I'm still alive. Happy I'm still blessed. And, of course, I'm still Dennis Rodman. Welcome to 2024. Had 8.8 likes on a post with him with a fairly hot chick. Still banging hot chicks. Dennis Rodman and Carmen Electra. I'm not sure there's a more famous relationship. Have they released that video? Didn't somebody do a documentary on Dennis Rodman leaving and just going to Vegas during the Bulls season because he needed to unwind? Is that out yet, or am I making that completely up? Dennis Rodman has one of the most interesting lives of any athlete ever. I believe that they are doing a documentary on that 1990s time when Dennis Rodman just left the Bulls, during the season because he needed to just get away for a little while. Next thing you know, Rodman's out partying in Vegas with Carmen Electra. And there's a story in that Bulls documentary where Michael Jordan just has to go to the hotel room and get Dennis out of bed because he's just there banging Carmen Electra. I'm going to watch the hell out of that documentary. Put 63-year-old Dennis Rodman back on the court. Let him wreck bitches for Caitlin Clark. I would watch. Best move WNBA history. All right, couple of other things. UFC 302 happened. Newark, New Jersey. Donald Trump walks out. Evidently, over the weekend, there's a huge controversy. Did he shake hands with Aaron Rodgers, or did Aaron Rodgers not respect him? They shook hands. They got along well. And Aaron Rodgers said, shaking the hands of the president, priceless, on his Instagram story. Entire arena went crazy for Trump in Newark, New Jersey. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes on the trial because obviously I've talked about this a lot. Trump is on pace right now, I believe, to make many states that he lost in 2020 competitive. I think he can make Virginia competitive, Minnesota, New Mexico, maybe New York and New Jersey, competitive, single digits. I think Trump right now, if the election were taking place, would win Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. I think there is panic setting in the Democrat side. They got their convictions over Trump, but you saw his public rollout at UFC 302. I've asked this question before. Is there a single sporting event that Joe Biden could walk in for that the crowd would actually cheer him? I don't think there is. Not even a WNBA game. Not even Cal against Stanford in football. I don't think it could happen in Major League Baseball. Not even Yankees-Red Sox. They had a big Trump flag that got unfurled at Yankee Stadium the other day. Men are breaking for Trump. I think it's going to be like 65-35. I think basically if you have a functional penis and like boobs, you're voting for Trump in 2024. And I'm sorry, I think that's what the data is going to reflect. Overwhelmingly, male sports fans are going to support Trump in 2024. And the poly market, they're like, oh, if we get Trump convicted, there's no telling. Everybody's going to change their mind. Nobody's changing their minds. And that's what the poly market reflects. There's been almost $150 million bet so far on who's going to win the presidency. And effectively, as I'm sitting here talking to you right now on Monday, was that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like 4 days later, Trump is almost got the exact same lead that he did before this verdict came down. I think what you'll see, this is my prediction, is for like a week or 10 days, there will be a couple of polls that come out and they'll say, oh, look, Biden picked up a point or two, and then it's going to fade, and we're going to be right back to where we were before. I think it's very hard to move these numbers because guess what? The economy, prices are not changing. You still have to pay way more for the same stuff than you used to. I drove down to the beach, stopped in Birmingham, Alabama, just south of Birmingham, Alabama, Hoover to be exact, at a Chick-fil-A there. Myself, my wife, my 3 kids, $57 for a Chick-fil-A meal. $57 for a Chick-fil-A meal. Now, my boys are growing. One of them, I think, got nuggets and a sandwich. Not a crazy combo. 16, 13, and 9, they can eat. My wife, though, is super healthy. I don't know, she got like a salad. $57. It's crazy. That's what Chick-fil-A cost me. That's the election. And the trial. I did Clay and Buck all last week. We talked about it all day Friday. Lots of reaction. Thursday, news comes down that there's not going to be a verdict on that day. I tell my wife, okay, that's great. We leave, walking along the beach. My phone blows up. Oh, there's actually going to be a verdict. turned to my wife like he's going to be guilty on all counts. I thought the only way that we got a hung jury was if there was a patriot on that jury that was actually willing to apply facts, truth, and the law. There wasn't. They got a rigged jury. They got 34 felony convictions. Will not impact, I don't believe, at all the overall result of the presidency. I don't think it is, because I think everybody sees that it's rigged. And I want to point this out. I haven't heard a lot of people discussing this. Joe Biden tweeted, "Nobody's above the law." But Joe Biden's own Department of Justice said that he willfully retained classified documents himself. And the only reason they weren't charging him was because they didn't believe a jury would believe that he's mentally competent enough to convict him beyond a reasonable doubt of a crime. Think about that. Joe Biden said no one's above the law, but his own Department of Justice actually said that he willfully retained classified documents and his mental state is so bad that they won't charge him with a crime. Also, they won't actually release the audio of that investigation from Robert Hur. How bad must Biden sound on that transcript if they won't give us the actual audio of Biden talking about the classified documents? Speaking of Biden, Hunter Biden is finally on trial in Delaware. I'll break down that case in some earnest for you tomorrow. Trump is also now on TikTok, already has over 3 million followers. And interestingly, on TikTok, and I don't spend any time on TikTok, so I can't tell you what my experience is on there. I know that a lot of our videos have gone mega viral on TikTok. I think 6 million people watched me bet $1 million against the WNBA for a high school team against the WNBA. But the reports are that there is a 2-to-1 content pro-Trump when it comes to the amount of things that are being shared, the videos. In other words, young people are more pro than anti-Trump on that broadcast in general. Wanted to hit you with this. Maybe the most underrated day in sports, and I always like to talk about this, is the Monday of the College World Series where the regionals are decided. They are elimination games. Oregon State, UC Irvine, Oklahoma State, Florida. This is what I'm going to do all afternoon. I'm going to watch these College World Series games. Evansville just beat East Carolina. Big upset for Evansville. They now will be going to Knoxville to play against the University of Tennessee, my beloved Volunteers. North Carolina, LSU, that's a whale of a game on ESPN2. I'm going to watch it. Oregon State, UC Irvine, UConn, Oklahoma. These are, 6 different games, single elimination, winner goes home. It's a lot like the NCAA tournament in basketball. That I really believe is going to be fun to watch. I encourage you to check those games out if you haven't already. In particular, man, North Carolina, LSU. LSU's baseball team has been on fire. That game against North Carolina is a real epic contest. I'm going to be watching that at 5 Central, 6 Eastern. So congratulations, by the way, to Evansville. Making it to the Sweet 16. I don't think anybody saw that happening. Beating East Carolina. And how about the Arkansas Razorbacks? The Razorbacks love baseball. Lots of SEC schools are all in on baseball. I know Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas A&M are already advanced as 3 of the best teams out there. This is going to be really interesting to follow as we go forward and see how all of this shakes out. I may go out to Omaha before all is said and done and watch some of this College World Series. So I encourage you, if you're looking for things to watch today, particularly because the NBA Finals doesn't start until Thursday, and they've had a full week where there's nothing going on, I'd encourage you to check that out. My name is Clay Travis. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. I'll be back with you tomorrow. This has been OutKick, the show.